It was a blitz on that play, and Campbell came in.
They blitzed on 3rd and 4th down on both those plays. Yeah, they were aggressive with pressure.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Talk about aggressive with pressure.
Remember when you said it was a zone read? He's like, it's not a zone read. It's not. It's not a zone read.
Wasn't a zone read. It was a read option.
It was a read. I knew. I was trying to mouth it to you. I'm like, read option.
After the fact.
It's a read option.
And then in part of his answer, he's like, yeah, in the zone read. I'm like, wait, what did you just say to me? Oh, my God. Can I read some of these? Felt like...
this is fantastic. The Comcast business text line was a riot throughout that entire interview.
Your boy got bottled up.
I saw all of them. It was hysterical.
It's a rough interview for your boy, Dibs. Third person.
Can I read some of these?
Every time I'd ask a question, I'd look at Grandy, and he would do his slow head shake like, Dibs, you got to be better. Man.
Okay. 925. This whole interview is just nothing to see here. This team is amazing no matter what. LOL, okay? 262. LOL, Cosell is the one guy that pushes back on the dibber. What a mensch.
Man.
Let me, let's see, 925. Tip passes aren't fluky. They're called tip drills. Let's see.
And I think that there have been more than 3 this year, but
Three dibs. There were 3, and it wasn't a zone read.
I was not in position to push back on Greg's numbers.
925, bro, really talking to y'all like you don't know football at all.
Turns out I don't know ball.
415, LOL, this guy makes Willard seem objective about the Niners.
That's funny.
650, Cosell seems a little cranky today. Still great insight. Hang on. 707, quite a contentious call with Cosell today. I think you guys need a hug after that. Way to earn that paycheck. Let's see. 562, love the battle, Dib Money. You put up a good fight. You did. You put up a good fight.
I wasn't trying to fight. I was just trying to offer up my thoughts and opinions on a play, but I couldn't even get the question out before he would jump the route. It felt like he knew where I was going every time. It's almost like he was primed on the questions.
925. I feel like when Cosell hung up, he said, geez, those schmucks don't know crap.
I felt a little bit like Joe Biden in the first debate this year.
925. These interviews with Greg have a Jack Hanna, Dave Letterman feel. Amazing. Let's see.
Wow.
Oh, this will make you feel good, though. 925. One guy, don't make you guys wrong.
Yeah.
See, here I was thinking that guy does. He does.
I don't even know what he was saying that was going to refute what we had to offer. Although you did go off topic a little bit asking about play calling, and he put you in your place. I don't do play calling. I'm not in the meeting on Monday.
That's not my fault.
He's supposed to be in the meeting on Monday?
Well, no, but the idea, I didn't even ask him about an opinion. I said, is it different than what you've seen in the past? And I get what his response is, which is actually something I feel like it's a tree I've tried to take a whack at a time or two, which is we walk out of a game and go, that was the play call. And I'm like, no, that's what happened.
You don't know the play call.
I don't know the play call.
Were you in the meeting on Monday?
I don't. I wasn't.
Because Greg wasn't.
But if Brock's running around in circles, I feel like some people are like, man, Shanahan called the Brock run around in circles play again.
Exactly.
No, he didn't call that. But the defense was here, there, or whatever. It didn't play out that way. And I think that's what Greg's getting at. But I was talking more just about dropping back versus handing the ball off. I don't think you need to be in the meeting for that, do you?
You do.
I guess I'm a schmuck.
Well, you need to be in the meeting because you don't know, by design, what the plan is. And the fact that they came out and they threw it 8 of the first 9, does that mean that Shanahan's abandoning the run, or is he seeing something that he thinks he can exploit?
Okay, that's a great question.
No, it's not.
I loved his response. He goes, by the way, do you guys know they can't cover either? Which, by the way, two-pronged. I'm like, oh, so maybe that's what Kyle was trying to attack. But then you go, all right, so Greg just said they can't stop the run and they can't stop the pass, and you scored 0 points in the second half.
Right.
Oof.
When I did kind of score some Cosell points with my question about the red zone, if I even got the question out.
He started.
He started right in on that.
He started emoting right away.
Because it is partly that they don't have Christian McCaffrey because you can't do a lot of different things. But he also pointed out what I've been saying all week about the low red zone inside the 10 and how they have not been able to run the football in the low red zone.
Absolutely. And Brock is probably taking off, a little bit too quickly at times.
I'm trying to lick wounds by using phrases like low red zone now that Greg's gone. I feel like I can maybe start to feel good about myself again.
You sound like him, which is making me scared of you.
When I try to talk to him like him and he interrupts me and rebukes me, it makes me feel less like me, let alone less like him. It's tough.
Oh, it's not tough. He's great.
I love him.
It's so great.
And I look forward to it.
It's the funniest thing ever is that the text line is like, oh my God, for a half hour, everyone's like, Greg hates you guys. And then he gets to the end and he literally goes, I love talking to you every week. I'm like, I bet, because we make you feel smart.
Totally. It's great. It's like when you think you're funny, as I do, and then you meet, like, for example, Robin Williams, and you try to run material, and they look at you like, dude, what is that?
Or Bill Burr. Oh, hey, nothing gets lost on you, pal.
That was a tough spot. But yeah, that's a good example. You try to be funny to people who are actually funny for a living, and it doesn't usually work.
Okay.
So you try to be a football smart guy to a guy who's an elite football smart guy.
That's why we're bringing him on. We're going to ask the questions. And you know what? If it's like, no, that's not what happened, I'm like, okay, good. Then
that wasn't zone read.
Then tell us what happened. That's why he's coming on.
Right.
You know? And by the way, even though you and I have footprints all over our face, hey, Niner fans, did you come out of that feeling better? Because I will give you what I thought was the overarching point. Greg thinks that what has happened to the 49ers is very circumstantial.
You can use the word.
They should be 4-1.
Well, the word is fluky, and it's a word he used. And he talked about a Mason fumble.
He was using that in terms of tip balls.
Right.
He was talking about Baltimore last year on Christmas.
Right. But I think and he mentioned the Mason fumble. If Mason doesn't fumble at the 8, we're having a different conversation. And we've actually had that very conversation.
He's talking about the Devondre Campbell tip ball that Fred Warner would have had a pick 6 if, so in other words, something good happened, but it would have been even better if that good thing hadn't happened.
I would say I'm going to go back and look at the film on that 3rd and 5 play, but I'm not looking at the film anymore. That's
do
it. I'm done. I'm done looking at film.
But you're terrible at it. So
apparently. Yeah, they also blitzed on 3rd down. Yeah, Greg, if you would let me finish the question, I was going to mention that they also
got served.
I mean, I'm used to getting interrupted from you. Usually the guest doesn't do me like that.
That's incredible.
I did get served.
Well, I coached him. I called him yesterday. I said, listen, Dibs doesn't like to talk.
He gets 7 words in and you jump in, Greg.
Yeah, he'll be much more comfortable if about halfway through his question, you just guess what you think the question's going to be and just start answering it. Because it's honestly, Dibs, it's his comfort zone.
He goes on too long, that Dibs.
He doesn't like to talk. But no, did you feel a little... And maybe not, because as someone just wrote to us, it's one guy, it's one man's opinion. But then again, Greg's not really an opinion guy. So Greg would tell you, whether you want to believe this or not, he's like, I don't have any opinion. I'm telling you the facts.
Yeah, what he sees on tape.
I'm telling you what I look at, and what I look at is that the 49ers are pretty similar to what they were last year.
Yeah. And I was trying to get my Mike McDonald question in about how he, as the defensive coordinator of Baltimore last year,
No.
I thought he kind of had his way with the Niners, and no, he didn't. They moved up and down the field.
He's right.
Greg, they threw 5 interceptions.
Correct.
Doesn't Baltimore get some? Well, 2 of them were tipped. 2 of them were bad throws, and then Darnold had the 5th.
He disagrees with you. He thinks one of them was a bad throw. And actually, it wasn't even a bad throw. It was a bad read. So in other words, he threw it right where he wanted to. It's kind of like when you read a putt as like, I think this is going to break 1 foot left or right. And then you putt it exactly where you mean to putt it, but it turns out it's the wrong read. It was a great putt, great execution, But Brock didn't see someone. So he threw it where he wanted to throw it, but it's a bad read.
It's a bad analogy is what that was.
I don't think so at all. Execution perfect, read off. So in other words, you shouldn't have tried to do what you tried to do, but you did what you tried to do, but it was conceptually the wrong thing to try.
In golf, there's no defense. So that's where the analogy misses me.
No,
and I encourage you and Greg to go back and look at the tape again from the Baltimore game.
You're refuting Greg Cosell's tape?
His take on the tape, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Call him back.
Dibs greater than NFL films.
He was a guy who last week admitted that he had to go back and watch the tape. And, not all tip balls are the same. And when you throw a pass into coverage and it gets tipped, then that's the way that goes.
We got to go to the phones. I think everybody wants to talk about Greg Cosell versus Dibs and a little bit of Willard. That's what it looks like. Let's find out. But first, let's remind you that you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer. And if that doesn't work, just ask to get served by Greg Cosell. Let's go to GPD in Hayward. Hi, GPD. What's good?
Oh, what time does he come on every Wednesday? I got to put that on my calendar.
3:15, GPD. Don't miss it. We're already counting down to next week.
Man, he faded you guys. Dibbers, please. It's a tip, and he told you exactly what it was. Let me give you an analogy. That's like me showing up. I'm a contractor. I show up to the inspection. The inspector comes. He's a 25-year contractor, and now he's a 60-year-old OG inspector. He knows the code book in and out, and I try to tell him what I did. And he was like, no, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, blah, 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 blah. My bad, homie. I back all the way up. Tell me what I need to know. Sir. Man, I love Cosell. He was great. He's the ultimate, bro. I feel a lot better about bang, Niner gang. I'm going to be out there in Concord tomorrow, man. Love you guys.
Nice. Enjoy
you
that.
You too, GPD.
At the veranda with Steiny and Goo.
Look at the tape. The Niners are 5-0. I want you to just look at the tape, Dibs.
Yeah.
They're 5-0.
And that matters for absolutely not a thing.
Actually, that's not true. I'm kidding. But
of course.
No, but I would argue that how the Niners are looking on tape, how they're executing, what they're trying to do, what's usually happening, does matter. It does matter. Like, I think Greg's point, one thing I heard, you tell me if you agree. What I heard him say is that football teams are going to go out there. There are no mysteries. Everybody knows what the other team's going to try to do. They know what their tendencies are. But they're going to go out there, try to impose their will, and execute better than the other team. And the good teams, the ones who do it really well, that's usually going to lead to a win, but not always. And yes, some things are flukier than others. And I don't think he argued that the Niners have been fantastically perfect. Like, he did love your red zone thought. He's like, that hasn't been good. And that's a big part of what's going on. But it does feel to me like Greg feels that this is going to even out over time. And I think I don't think there's anything unfair about that.
There's nothing unfair about it as long as that actually happens. And you can be happy with how you've looked on tape, and you can be happy with your execution in general, even though you're 2-3, but you have a chance tomorrow to go out there and do that, execute, play well, and win a game. And if you go out and do what you did against the Rams and do what you did against the Cardinals, which is execute and hold the ball for longer and gain a bunch of yards and play better than the opponent but still lose, then for me, it doesn't matter for a hill of beans. And, he talked about him being a process guy, and you pumped your fist because you're also a process guy.
Love being a process guy.
I'm a results guy more than I am a process guy because, the process is great, but your results, they stink. And if your results continue to stink and you don't go to the playoffs, who gives a crap about your process?
There has to be overlap there because it's a results-based business. So I'll agree with you there. But I do think that is, for example, it helps explain how, for example, you might be a little bit more unsettled about where the 49ers are right now than I am, because you're a results-based person.
Yep.
And they're 2-3, and that sucks. And I agree with you 100%. But I'm a process guy, and to me, while the 2-3 sucks, I'm going to continue to hold on to my very, very clear belief that this is going to normalize, that the Niners have outplayed the opponent 4 out of 5 times, and that this will get better, despite the fact that the teams they're about to play, in theory, are better. Like, that's my belief, and I could be proven wrong, and tomorrow night might be another fluky loss, if Greg wants to call it that. I don't even know if he'd call it that. Yes, you're only allowed so many of those, and they've done it twice against teams that are wildly inferior, my opinion. But that's why I hold out that right now I do. I believe that this is going to look better as the season continues to evolve.
It has the past 3 years,
Yes.
and it has over the Shanahan tenure, and so you're probably on the right side of the probability that it will look better and the results will fall in line based on the process, which the process has not been terrible. It's been the results that have been the bigger issue. And I don't want to get too far ahead because we have a game tomorrow against Seattle, but you are at a rest disadvantage against Kansas City, which is a big thing, and you're at a similar disadvantage against Dallas, which is a big thing.
I think it's a thing.
I think it's a big thing.
I know
it's
you
less
do.
of a thing when you're at home than it is when you're on the road.
And they are for both of those games.
Yes.
Yes.
But I do think that it's a pretty big thing when you've got a Kansas City team that'll be coming in off a bye and they're undefeated.
Yeah.
And Dallas will be coming in off a bye and they look like they might be getting things right offensively.
They do. Why? Because one pass got completed on the last play of the game on Sunday night. They look awful.
Results.
But to say they look like they're starting to get things right, that like in order the last play of the game on 4th down in order to score 20 points. I know Pittsburgh's a good defense, but again, I have not watched any Dallas games yet this year and come away impressed.
Yeah,
none of them. But that's okay. Yeah, like you said,
3-2.
3-2. 3-2. Austin in San Jose is next. Hi, Austin. Thanks for calling.
Hey, fellas. How you guys doing? Enjoying the conversation, the back and forth. Dibbler, you handled it like a pro, man, with Greg. I enjoyed it. It was funny, but you handled it very well. Greg kind of tried to slap you down a couple times, but I think you came back at him, and I think you stood your ground. You handled I always say you try to channel a little bit of O'Neal in your program, so that's all good. It's not a problem, but yeah. So keep doing what you're doing. Listen, this whole process. Discussion, Will, I'll kind of agree with you. I think process matters more in a developing team where you're trying to get to a certain point. You're trying to teach technique, make sure you follow the process to get to success. But I think results matter more in a team like the Niners where you've already proven that the process works. And what you need is results. I mean, look at Kansas City. You could say that they're not playing great right now, but they're 5-0. So
right.
What would you rather have? Would you rather follow the process or would you rather have the results? I would rather have the process. And then the final thing I wanted to say, I wanted to get your opinion, really, Dibley's opinion, yours, my Commanders, man. I mean, right now, like, they're following the process. It's only 4 or 5 games, but they're looking pretty good right now. So I would say for a team like the Commanders, the process is really more important as they're developing. But for the Niners, man, they got to go out and get wins, man. That's kind of my input. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks.
Austin, thanks. This is a great
Thanks,
call.
Austin.
First of all,
it.
your Commanders, I'm very high on. Very, very high on. And I remember saying at the beginning of the year, I thought they were still a year away, but I loved their process. I loved what they were doing, and they may be ahead of schedule. And I think it is already realistic to start thinking about them as possibly a playoff team and possibly even winning that division because I'm not huge on the Cowboys and Eagles. They are not far ahead of the Commanders, if at all. So I'd say that. As far as the process results conversation, though, I don't know what you think, Dibs. In the end, this is sort of a it's sort of a kind of an eclectic sort of a conversation. The idea is that a good process leads to good results. So they are hand in hand. And when they don't, you sort of have to trust that over the long haul they will. It's kind of how a casino is built. A casino knows that you might come in for an hour and kick their butt, but you ain't going to kick their butt for a year. Their process works. They don't care about their result in week 1 and week 2.
It's tried and true, though.
Right, exactly. And
their
this
process is built to where they have a 52% edge on every time the card is turned over.
No doubt. But if you ask, for instance, would you rather the Chiefs, so they don't look good, but they're 5-0, and let's say, I don't think the Niners do look that good, but let's say the Niners looked great, but we're 2-3, what would you rather be? Well, obviously 5-0, unless my thought was house of cards. Here's the example I'll give you there. It'll be a better example because it's football.
Philadelphia Eagles last year.
No doubt. Would you rather be 10-1 or would you rather be 8-3? Well, in that moment, and I said it.
You did.
I'd rather be 8-3 because I know that the team I'm rooting for is good, and that team, I can tell, they are not. And they're going to fall apart, and they did. So the process, you hope over the longer haul, the longer it goes, it's going to play out and then lead to the results. If it doesn't, then what matters more? Obviously the results.
Well, and maybe
it's a results-based business.
Maybe the process that you had all this faith in wasn't a good and true process. Maybe it's a defensive front that's not good enough. Maybe it's a defensive coordinator who is not ready for prime time. Maybe it's a quarterback who has chosen to scramble too much. Maybe it's an injured roster. Maybe it's a couple of holdouts who didn't come in ready. Maybe it's a head coach who doesn't have a full command of his staff or the team.
But that can adjust.
But maybe your process that you're putting all your faith in is a flawed process.
But my response to that is, and I think it's what Greg was saying, is this process that the Niners are using right now is the same process they've always used.
But it doesn't matter the process if the players aren't good enough to execute the process.
Of course. But again,
the process is same offense and similar defense and the rest of it.
And if someone's not good, they'll get replaced. And you will try to find someone who is good enough. And again, I think the track record, that's where this matters. The track record is there that the Niners will be aggressive at the deadline and that the 49ers will be better in the second half of the year than the first.
I like the second part of that. I mean, aggressive at the deadline, if you're looking at what they're going to do. Like last year, they brought in Chase Young. Okay. And how much did that appreciably help your defense?
Yeah, not great.
Maybe a little bit.
It wasn't perfect.
Christian McCaffrey? Well, yeah. No, there's an upgrade that really helped your team. And if you want to look at, and we still have a full month until the deadline. I think it's November 2nd. Yep. So we've got 4 more weeks of football, and you want to talk about what they need to do to improve this team. It's not just one thing. So then it becomes a little bit more difficult at the deadline to improve your team and really improve your process.